good morning, everybody, and happy Tuesday. Good morning, good morning. My name is Juanita Williams. I am a purpose conduit and the link to Life Beyond Pain and the channel to discovering purpose. And this is today's Tuesday Truths. This is today's Tuesday Truths. Well, I just went live on Facebook. It kind of took longer than expected. So we'll go back and say, good morning, Facebook. Good morning, IG. My name is Juanita Williams. I am a purpose conduit and the channel, the link to Life Beyond Pain and the channel to discovering purpose. And this is today's Tuesday. Just going to get right into it so we can get this Tuesday truth done. So today we're talking about your healing is your business. Your healing is your business. Nobody can force you to heal. Excuse me. You have to know that you are worth the heal. Nobody can force you, but you have to know that you are worth the heal. Many of us are dealing with generational trauma. excuse me, dealing with these allergies too. Ugh. So many of us are dealing with generational trauma passed down through our bloodline that affects our outer man, which is our bodysuit, and then our inner man, which is our soul. So we can talk about the medical side. On the medical side, generational trauma is easy to spot, trace, and therefore inform. So, why do you think the doctors have you complete a questionnaire regarding your family history? It's not to be nosy, it's for information about your DNA markers that could possibly affect your health. So I went online and I looked up, DNA, generational markers, and I found this paragraph to be interesting. So I'll just read it to you. It says, generic markers can be used to study the relationship between an inherited, means that it was passed down, disease and its genetic cause. For example, a particular mutation of a gene that results in a defective protein. It is known that pieces of DNA that lie near each other on a chromosome tend to be inherited together. This property enables the use of a marker which can be used to determine the precise inheritance pattern of the gene that has not yet been exactly localized. I thought that was interesting because, generational stuff is passed down. So now what about the trauma that can't be easily spotted or traced? That trauma that is deep-seated, that trauma that's hidden or forgotten, but shows up at the most inopportune times. Trauma that leaks and projects and causes harm to others. What about that trauma? Trauma that is so painful that it's unbearable. Trauma that, if not healed, could be the reason for your demise. Well, that's my story. Because I hadn't healed or even started the process of healing, I had suicidal thoughts, which came from the devil, which led to a suicidal plan, which came from the devil. It came from the devil, and it almost caused me my demise. Almost caused me my demise. And of course, that's what the devil wants. He wants to kill your purpose. And then if he kills you, that's a bonus for him. He almost got me, but God. This might be too deep for some, but my testimony needs to be heard so that others that are hurting can heal. So it's not about me at all. It's about the healing. It's about God getting the glory through healing. And God gets glory anyway, because all the things that I've gone through, God is using it. All of the pain that I've had in my life, God is using it for my good and for his glory. He has turned my pain into purpose and my struggles into strength. So Revelations 12:11, the A part says, "And they have defeated him, the devil, by the blood of the Lamb and by their testimony." So our testimonies are super important. No need to be ashamed. I gave my testimony years ago about molestation and abuse and rape, and I was ridiculed for that. I know now it wasn't time for me to share it, but I did. I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to share it at that time, but now is the right time for me to share it, and I'm sharing it. But I was ridiculed, and I think I only told my testimony like one more time after that, and then it was like 20 years later before I shared again. But of course, now is the time for me to be sharing my testimony. God has a perfect time for everything. So I will not shut my mouth. I will share my testimony unapologetically, without fear. I'm praying that God will allow someone to hear it so that it will cause them then to get the courage to be able to share their story, that they won't be fearful, and that they will be able to share it boldly because it's going to help somebody else. That's the whole point. It's going to help somebody else. It's going to be for your good, for God's glory, and it's going to help somebody else, give them the courage to share, and then they'll give somebody else the courage to share. So it's like a domino effect. So I am holding my head up proudly and sharing my testimony as often as I can because somebody needs to hear it. Somebody needs to know that they're not alone. Somebody needs to know that God can heal and there is hope. Somebody needs to know that they don't have to walk this thing out by themselves. And somebody needs to know that God loves them so much. So listen, if you have a testimony, share it. Share it. Pray and ask the Lord when it's time. But He'll let you know when it's time. So, but share your testimony. You never know. You never know who it will touch and who it will help to start the healing process and who it will give courage to share their story. So the power of testimony helps you acknowledge your trauma. The power of testimony helps you face yourself. Yeah, it happened. It happened. And it was not your fault. It happened. It was not your fault. The power of testimony gives others the courage to share their testimony. The power of testimony helps you begin the healing process. Until I actually shared my story, and I actually shared my story in book form. So I published my memoir in 2019. God had begun the healing process way before then in me to prepare me to be able to share that story unapologetically and boldly, and not really caring what anybody else thinks because it's my story and I can share it the way I want to share it. But He began the process, my healing process, in 2016. But maybe for you, your healing process begins today. The power of testimony encourages you to continue in the process. The power of testimony gives you strength for the healing journey. The power of testimony equips you to handle the next. The power of testimony empowers you to live free, to live delivered and whole. And the power of testimony inspires hope in you and others. So listen, excuse me, if you receive a diagnosis from a doctor, most of the time you do what it takes to heal, correct? At least I do. I mean, some people don't though. They just don't, but that's their business. Just like we take care of our physical body, we also need to take care of our soul and that unseen or hidden trauma that can only be healed when it's revealed. If you keep it hidden, it won't be able to be healed. I encourage you to do some deep diving. Dive deep into your soul and search. Search for what's hidden. Search for what you have locked away in your vault. Now, I had a whole lot of stuff locked away in my vault, and I wasn't about to share it with anybody. But then, you know, that would just mean I would still be walking around unhealed. You know, there are still some things that I need to continue to dig out and heal. And I just, I thank God that I am able to do that, and He's given me and equipped me with the tools to be able to do that. Search for that deep seated trauma, and start your healing process. If you need a therapist, I encourage you to get a therapist. I have one. As a matter of fact, I've seen 3 therapists, um, and they each help me in a different way. I'll just put it like that. Um, I'm seeing one now, and I'm glad that I chose to do that because my healing is my business. So I needed it. So if you need therapy, by all means, get a therapist. Don't allow anyone to talk you out of your healing because they will. They'll try. You know, um, back in the day, I don't say not so far back in the day, therapy was considered to be something not so good. We don't talk about stuff, outside of our house. What happens in our house stays in our house. Well, this is one person that is telling everything. I'm not keeping anything secret because I, somebody needs to hear it so that they can heal, so that they can have the courage to share their story. I'm not keeping any more secrets. Secrets can kill you. So I am just not going to do that. But people might talk you out. They might try to talk you out of it, but don't let them. And the reason why some people will try to talk you out of it is because they're not healed themselves. They're not healed themselves. And then other people, they only know how to deal with the broken you. So if you start healing, they won't know how to deal with the heal you. And then if you start healing, you're going to start changing. And then you're going to become the person that God created you to be. That will force that other person to look within themselves and then need to change. So it forces them to look at their own trauma and change too, if they're willing to change, if they're willing to heal. But a lot of times people don't want change. They don't, because change is hard. Change is hard. So they ignore what's going on inside them, or they numb the pain through other various vices because they don't want to deal with what's happening with them. So the way they deal is by doing other stuff that will cause them more harm, cause them more trauma. So I will just advise you, hey, if you want to think you need to see a therapist, if you want to see a therapist, go ahead and do it. You don't have to let nobody know that you're seeing a therapist, because remember, healing is your business. It ain't nobody else's. Your healing journey, it might be lonely. Yep, you might have to walk the journey by yourself. But just know that God is with you, and He'll never leave you or forsake you. He's right there with you, and he's going to help you in the healing process. So just want to encourage you, and to let you know that healing is your business. So come on, sis, come on, bruh, get your healing. So my name is Juanita Williams. I'm a purpose conduit. I am the link to life beyond pain and the channel to discovering purpose. And this is today's Tuesday Truths. You guys and gals and girls and queens and kings, have a fantabulous day and an awesome-tastic week. And I will see you in 2 weeks because I'm going on vacay. That's part of my self-care. So in 2 weeks, I'll be back, Lord willing. Until then, be blessed and prosperous and get your healing. Bye-bye now.